My brother got a brand new Jeep with a bow on it. My gift. Just words. You're strong, you'll manage. I thought that was the end, until I found what they'd been hiding. You ever stand in a crowd full of people cheering, clapping, grinning ear to ear, and still feel like you are not even there? That was me, standing on the front lawn while everyone gathered around my younger brother, Tyler. He was beaming, hands gripping the steering wheel of a brand new, cherry red Jeep that our mother had surprised him with for his birthday. I remember the exact sound the ribbon made when she pulled it off, the kind of silky whoosh you only hear in car commercials. And the way the sun hit the paint, it looked like the damn thing was glowing. I should have been happy for him. I should have smiled like the rest of them. But all I could do was stare at the scene unfolding like I had seen it before. Because I had. My whole life had been a repeat of this same damn moment, just with different props. Everyone was hugging him, slapping him on the back, saying things like, "You earned this, kid, and we are so proud of you." Meanwhile, I stood off to the side like some forgotten neighbor who just happened to wander by. When our mom finally noticed me, she walked over, arms crossed, looking at me like I was about to cause trouble just by breathing. "You're strong," she said. "You'll manage. Be patient." That line again. It had followed me since I was a kid, like some kind of family motto written just for me. "You're strong. You'll manage. Be patient." She said it when I was 8, standing on the porch while Tyler opened a pile of birthday presents and I held a single dollar store yo-yo. She said it when I was 12 and came home with a busted lip from defending him in a fight he started. He got ice cream. I got a lecture about controlling my temper. She said it when I was 17 and turned down a full-ride scholarship because we could not afford to send me out of state. But somehow, 6 months later, they had enough to buy Tyler a new gaming setup and pay for his photography trip to Arizona. Each time, that same damn phrase. "You're strong. You'll manage. Be patient." Like being strong meant I did not need anything. Like patience was supposed to replace love. That afternoon, I just nodded. I did not trust myself to speak. My jaw was clenched so tight I could feel it in my temples. But inside, something was shifting. I looked at Tyler, standing next to the car, arm around our mom's shoulder, soaking in every second of praise. He caught my eye and gave me that smug, half-sympathetic grin. The kind of look that says, "Sucks to be you." And in that exact moment, I knew. This was not about being strong. It never was. It was about being invisible. And I had been invisible long enough. You know what sticks with you more than anything? Not the big betrayals. Not even the car in the driveway. It is the quiet stuff. The subtle digs. The little moments that sneak under your skin and stay there. Like when I was in 3rd grade. I had worked my butt off for months, trying to get straight A's. Stayed up late, reread chapters, even asked the teacher for extra worksheets like some kind of nerdy overachiever. I remember the day the report cards came out. I held that folded piece of paper like it was made of gold. Mom was at the kitchen counter. Tyler was on the floor, finger painting some crooked-looking dog on printer paper. I handed her the report card, heart pounding. She opened it, glanced over the grades, and said without looking up, "That's good." Then she turned around, picked up Tyler's painting, and said, "Look at this. That's going right on the fridge." She taped his mess of a dog onto the door like it was a Van Gogh. My report card slid into a drawer next to expired coupons and grocery lists. That was the moment it clicked, at 8 years old, that doing the right thing, working hard, staying quiet, none of it mattered unless you sparkled the way Tyler did. He did not even have to try. He would break a plate, and Mom would say, "He's just creative." I would trip over the same plate, and it was, "Why can't you watch where you're going?" And it only got worse. Tyler got guitar lessons, new clothes, camp trips with his buddies. I got hand-me-downs and second shifts at the hardware store during summer. Once, I got into a youth leadership program. They only accepted 15 kids across the county. I brought home the acceptance letter, expecting, I do not know, a hug? Oh, well done. Instead, Mom frowned and said, "That's going to be hard to schedule around Tyler's soccer season. Maybe next year." I did not go. Not because I agreed, but because it felt like trying to pull teeth to get a sliver of support. And every time I brought it up, the same line came out. "You're strong. You'll manage." At some point, I stopped trying to prove anything. Just started taking the path of least resistance. If there was praise, I handed it to Tyler. If there was blame, I swallowed it. They made it easy to believe that being overlooked was just the cost of being the strong one. But that day in front of the Jeep? Watching my brother get handed a brand new future on four wheels while I stood with dirt on my sneakers and nothing in my hands? That was the first time I felt something different. I felt done, but I could not walk away just yet, because there was something else I needed to see, something that had been bothering me for a while, and I was about to get my answer. A few weeks after the birthday, I found myself back at the house. Not because I wanted to be. I had moved out a year earlier, scraping by in a crappy studio apartment that smelled like burnt carpet and old spaghetti. But Mom had called, saying she needed help clearing out the attic. Tyler had just been accepted to some creative media program in the city. Apparently, he needed extra space for his gear, cameras, lights, whatever phase he was into this week. So there I was, crawling through insulation and boxes like a raccoon. I was sweaty, annoyed, and surrounded by cardboard time capsules. Most of it was junk, old decorations, baby clothes, broken Christmas lights. But then I found a box shoved way in the back. No label, just dust and tape and the kind of weight that makes your chest feel tight before you even open it. Inside were school folders. Mine. Dozens of them. Old essays, certificates, awards. Things I had forgotten about. A 6th grade science fair ribbon. A most improved badge from the basketball team. A damn perfect attendance trophy, still wrapped in bubble wrap. And every single one had my name on it. None of it had ever been displayed. Not once. I never saw these things on the fridge or mantle. Never heard a "we're proud of you" at the dinner table. But here they were, stashed in a box like someone had gone out of their way to bury them. It hit me so hard I had to sit down. You think you have made peace with the past, but then you find proof, physical proof, that you were not imagining it. You really were the kid in the background. The backup. The plan B. I stared at those dusty papers, remembering all the nights I had spent trying to get noticed. And then I saw something else. Tucked between two folders was a letter. It was from my high school guidance counselor, dated senior year. A glowing recommendation addressed to a scholarship committee. I had never seen it before. Turns out, I had been nominated for a leadership grant I never even applied for. Why? Because I never knew. My guess? They never told me. I sat there in silence, holding that letter like it was radioactive. And that was when I heard Tyler downstairs, laughing with Mom about how stressful it had been choosing between 2 out-of-state internships. One of them paid more than I made in a month. He had no idea I was up there. No idea what I had just found. That was the moment it stopped feeling like disappointment. It started feeling like betrayal. And I was not ready for what I was about to find next. I could not shake the feeling that something else was off. That letter from my guidance counselor, it was not just a glowing endorsement. It said right there, enclosed, full application packet, per Diana's request. Diana, my mom. She had asked for the packet. That meant she had seen it, read it, held it in her hands. So why the hell had I never heard a word about it? I waited until she stepped out to walk the dog. Then I headed downstairs. There was a cabinet in the dining room. One of those old things with curved glass panels and polished handles. Growing up, I was never allowed to touch it. That was where she kept important documents. Tax forms, insurance stuff, birth certificates, and, apparently, secrets. The bottom drawer was jammed, swollen from humidity. I had to yank it open. Inside, stacked neatly in manila folders, were file after file labeled with Tyler's name. Tyler, Art Camp. Tyler, College Apps. Tyler, Photography Showcase. Everything organized, color-coded, protected like museum pieces. Then I found a thin folder with my name on it. One single folder. No tabs. No plastic sleeves. Just wrinkled papers shoved in loosely like they were waiting to be thrown out. I flipped through it. There it was, my scholarship letter from the university out west. The one I thought had been lost in the mail. It had been opened, stapled, and dated. A note in Mom's handwriting at the top. Too far. Discuss later. Discuss later. She had opened the letter, seen the full ride, and decided it was not worth mentioning. Like it was an inconvenience. Like my future was optional. That was when I stopped believing this was just favoritism. This was control. Keeping me close. Keeping me useful. Tyler was the star, and I was the scaffolding holding up his spotlight. They always said I was reliable, that I did not need help, that I would figure it out. But maybe that was not praise. Maybe it was just an excuse to use me. I shoved the folder back in the drawer and closed it softly, heart racing. Part of me wanted to confront her, to ask why she buried my chances while blowing wind into Tyler's sails. But I knew what she would say. She would smile that tight, practice smile, and tell me I was overreacting, that I was lucky, that it was not personal. "You're strong," she would say. "You'll manage." I left the house without saying goodbye. But I was not just leaving the house. I was starting to leave the story they had written for me. And soon, I would stop playing my part in it altogether. A few days later, Tyler called me out of the blue. That was rare. Usually, he texted when he needed something. Rides, favors, help with some job interview he barely prepared for. But this time he called. Said he wanted to catch up. I met him at a diner near the freeway. Cheap coffee, plastic booths. Place smelled like old grease and cigarettes that got into the wallpaper years ago. He slid into the seat across from me, still dressed like he was headed to a photo shoot. Designer hoodie, silver chain, hair too perfect to be accidental. But something was off. His foot kept tapping under the table. He made small talk at first, asking about my job like he actually cared. I answered short, kept my voice flat. I was not there to swap life updates. Then he said it. "I know things were never fair." Just like that. No setup. No apology. Just words thrown on the table like spare change. I did not say anything. He went on, voice low. Said he found the scholarship letter in Mom's files last summer. He had read it. All of it. And he had asked her why I never went. "She told me it was better this way," he said, eyes on his coffee. "Said you would be happier staying close to home. That if you left, you might not come back." That was when it hit me. This whole time, she had been afraid of losing control. Of losing me. I had always thought it was about Tyler. About him needing the attention, needing the praise. But maybe it was also about Mom needing someone who never left. Someone who filled in the gaps while she built a pedestal for her favorite. Tyler looked up, like he was waiting for me to say something. I wanted to yell, to unload every buried moment of resentment. But instead, I just asked, "And you were okay with that?" He shrugged. I did not know what to do. She made it sound like it was for the best. For the best. My hands curled into fists under the table. He had known for months. Said nothing. Let me keep coming around, helping out, playing my part. I realized in that moment that it was not just Mom who chose this dynamic. It was all of them. Even Tyler, the golden child, let it happen because it kept his life easier. And me? I had spent 25 years playing the role of the reliable one. The one who endured. But I was done enduring. Because what I had just learned was bigger than a stolen opportunity. It was a stolen life. And I was finally ready to take it back. The morning after that diner talk, I packed up everything I owned into 2 duffel bags and a busted suitcase with a broken zipper. It did not take long. You would be amazed how little you accumulate when you spend your whole life putting everyone else first. I left the apartment key on the counter, wrote a short note to my landlord thanking him for fixing the water heater last winter, and boarded a bus headed west. No dramatic goodbye. No social media post. No forwarding address. I was done playing support character in someone else's story. For the first few days, it felt like freedom. No phone calls. No expectations. I crashed on a friend's couch 2 states away, took on temp work at a shipping warehouse, and ate canned soup like it was fine dining. It was not glamorous, but it was mine. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I could breathe without asking permission. At night, I would walk to this little overlook by the river and just sit. Listen to the water move. Think about what kind of life I could build if I stopped trying to prove anything to people who never really saw me. Then, about 2 weeks in, I got a message. Not a call. Not a voicemail. Just a photo. It was from an unknown number. No caption. Just a picture of my old bedroom back home. Empty. The walls bare. The shelves cleared out. My bed stripped and leaning against the wall. And on the floor? A plastic tub. Filled with my childhood stuff. Trophies, certificates, sketchbooks, yearbooks, dumped together like leftovers at a yard sale. I stared at the photo for a long time. My first thought was Mom. She must have decided to turn the room into an office or something now that I was gone. But that is not what bothered me. What got under my skin was the timing. I had said nothing about leaving. I had not spoken to them since I disappeared. So how did they know where to find me? How did they know the number? I scrolled back through the message details. The area code was local. Not my hometown. My new town. That was when it hit me. Someone had followed me here. And I had no idea who it was. The message kept me up for 2 nights straight. I checked the sender again. Still unlisted. Still no name. I even asked around, but no one local recognized the number. I was paranoid, sure, but also curious. There was something about the photo. The angle. The distance. It was taken from the hallway, just outside my old door. Whoever sent it had been inside the house. Not recently, that day. I finally cracked and called Tyler. I told myself it was just to get answers. No emotion, no nostalgia, just facts. He picked up on the third ring, voice groggy like he had just rolled out of bed at noon. When I mentioned the photo, there was a pause. Then a sigh. I didn't send it, he said, but I know who did. He told me to check my email. Not the one I use for work. The old one. The one I forgot I even had. I logged in, and there it was. A message with no subject line. Just a bunch of image attachments and one long PDF. They were letters. Typed. Dated. Some recent. Some from years ago. And all of them were from my mom. Letters she wrote, but never sent. Letters about me. About how she worried I would never forgive her. About how she never knew how to love both sons the same way. About the guilt. The fear. The constant second-guessing. Some parts sounded like confessions. Others read like diary entries. But one line burned itself into my skull. I thought if I gave Tyler the spotlight, maybe Michael would stop chasing it. And just stay. Michael. My name. She thought I would settle for being ignored. That if she kept telling me I was strong, I would just accept it. Another letter was dated 3 months before I left. It said she had found my scholarship letter again. Said she held it in her hands and nearly called me that night. But she didn't. Because, in her words, he is already slipping away. I did not want to give him one more reason to leave. Reading that felt like someone had poured ice water down my spine. So she knew. She knew what she was doing. It was never an accident. Never some blind favoritism. It was fear. She was afraid of losing control. Of losing the one person who always came back. And Tyler? He was just the distraction. He was not the golden child. I was the anchor, and she needed me to stay stuck. 2 weeks passed before I made up my mind. I did not respond to the letters. I did not message Tyler again. I just packed a small bag and bought a bus ticket back home. One way. Not because I missed them. Not because I wanted closure. I needed to see it one last time. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Paint peeling at the edges. Same wind chime by the porch that I used to hate because it never stopped clanging during storms. I knocked once. Mom answered the door. She looked older. Tired. Maybe she always had, and I never noticed. Her eyes went wide when she saw me. For a second, she smiled. This soft, aching thing that faded before it could settle. She stepped aside without saying a word. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and something burning slightly in the oven. Tyler was not home. Neither was Dad. Just her. I walked in, straight to my old room. It was empty. Completely. Not even the tub from the photo was there anymore. I turned around and found her standing in the doorway, hands folded, like she had rehearsed something and then forgot the words. I saved the letters, she said. All of them. I nodded, but I did not say thank you. Because they were never sent. She started to explain, to justify, maybe, about how hard it was, how she never meant to make me feel small, how she thought I did not need what Tyler did, how I was the strong one. I let her speak. I watched her lips move and her eyes water. But I did not comfort her. Because I had learned something out there, in those weeks away. I had spent my whole life trying to be the kind of son who would finally earn her approval. Who would hear, "I'm proud of you," without having to dig for it. And that version of me, he had died the moment I realized I was never going to get it. That was not bitterness. That was truth. She reached out, fingers trembling like she wanted to touch my arm. I stepped back. "I'm not angry," I told her. And I meant it. "But I'm done." She blinked, like she did not understand. "I'm done chasing this." The crumbs. The nods. The hope that maybe next time, I'll matter more. Her lip trembled. I stepped past her, walked down the hallway, past the kitchen where a birthday banner still hung from weeks ago. It had Tyler's name on it. Outside, the air was sharp and cold. I zipped my jacket halfway, just enough to breathe. I heard the door close behind me, soft but final. And for the first time in my life, I did not look back. I ended up in a small town 2 states over. Nothing special. Just a place where people mind their business and coffee comes in real mugs instead of paper cups. I found work fixing up a local rec center. The pay was decent. Hours were early. And nobody knew my name. For the first time in a long time, I liked it that way. There was something peaceful about showing up, doing the work, and walking home without anyone comparing me to someone else. Nobody expected me to carry them. Nobody called me strong like it was a sentence. I rented a small room above a bakery. The walls smelled like cinnamon, and I had to duck under the ceiling fan to avoid slicing my head open. But it was mine. Mine in a way nothing back home ever was. At night, I wrote. Nothing serious. Just thoughts. Stuff I never had time to process when I was too busy surviving. I wrote about being the shadow behind someone else's spotlight. About how people say love is unconditional, but forget to mention the conditions they never say out loud. And for the first time, I started to wonder something I had never allowed myself to ask before. What if I was never the strong one? What if I was just the quiet one? The patient one? The easy-to-ignore one? Strength had always been their excuse. Their shield. The reason they never had to check on me, or support me, or celebrate me. Because I would manage. But strength is not silence. Strength is not staying. Strength is knowing when to leave and never coming back. I thought about all the birthdays I spent alone, the promotions no one asked about, the late-night walks where I tried to convince myself I was okay. And now? Now I was not waiting for permission. I started saving. Opened a checking account that no one else had access to. Took on a few side gigs building decks and painting fences. I was not chasing dreams anymore. I was building something with my own hands. It was slow. It was simple, but it was mine. And then one morning, just as I was locking up the rec center after a long shift, I got another message. This time it was not from Mom. It was from Tyler. Just one line. And it changed everything. The message from Tyler came early, barely past 6 in the morning. It said, "She's sick. She's asking for you." Just that. No details. No explanation. No guilt. Just the same pull they always knew would work. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, thumb hovering over the reply button. Sick. A word that carries weight when it comes from someone who has always been strong. But coming from them, it felt like another card they were playing. Another string they were tugging, hoping I would drop everything. Come home. Play the role. Show up and fix it. Part of me still hesitated. I wish I could lie and say I did not feel anything. But I did. I felt the ache of every birthday spent waiting for a hug that never came. The bitterness of every win I had to clap for from the sidelines. The deep, private craving to be seen. Not for what I could carry, but for who I was. I thought about the letters. The photo. The room she emptied the second I left. But then I thought about something else. That first night in the tiny apartment above the bakery. Eating cereal for dinner and watching steam curl up from a chipped mug of tea I bought with my own paycheck. And I realized something. I had already said goodbye. Not in words. Not in some dramatic walkout. But in every quiet step I had taken away from that house. Every day I chose myself instead of the version of me they had created. The one who existed to serve, support, and stay small. So I did not reply to Tyler's message. Not out of hate. Not out of revenge. But because I no longer owed them my presence to validate their regret. I closed the phone, stepped outside, and let the morning air hit my skin. It smelled like flower and sunlight, and the kind of freedom you only recognize once you have lived without it for too long. There were no witnesses. No applause. Just me. Still standing. Still building. And finally free.